Hi, I'm Lisa Weigard. I'm one of the Hack librarians, and today I'm going to be showing you how to reach your class guide for English 003 and how to do a simple search in one of our largest databases to find an article on your topic. I'll also talk a little bit about citing your article as well as citing any websites that you might happen to find. I'm going to begin by showing you how to get to the guide, which I've created for this class. And to do that, you'll want to be on the MyHack portal, your student view of the MyHack portal. So I'm hoping this is a familiar screen to all of you. And you'll note that there's a link to the library at the side of the screen and also at the top of the screen. They're going to bring you to the same place, which is the library section of the MyHack portal. To reach a guide for a class, you want to take a look at these quick links in the upper left-hand corner, and you'll see that there is a link under Research for Class Guides. So I'm going to go ahead and link to class guides. And since this is an English class, I'm going to link to English and then English 003, Strategy-Based Reading 3 for Professor Mummert, and that will bring me to the guide for this class. Here on the first screen, the welcome screen, you'll see my contact information, and I will go into a little bit of more detail about that towards the end of this video. For now, I want to focus mostly on where and how you find your articles for your assignment. And to do that, you would go to the section of the guide that says Articles, and that will bring you to the Articles section of the guide, where first you'll see some brief descriptions of the types of articles you are most likely to find in our library databases. You'll be bumping into other types of sources as well, but most of what you'll be finding will fall under one of these categories of either popular magazine, a trade publication, which is like a magazine but for a particular professional group, and then scholarly journal articles, which are very academic. And it says scholarly since they're scholarly journal articles, and they also you often written by professors at universities who are sharing their research with other professionals in the field. Okay, to find your article for this assignment, you can scroll down just a little bit to where it says find your database periodical here, and you'll see two databases here, ProQuest Central and EBSCO. These are both very large databases that include many different types of sources, but mostly articles from those journals and magazines and trade publications. Either one is good. My personal favorite is EBSCO, so that's what I'm going to be demonstrating here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to link to EBSCO, and I'm going to think a little bit about my topic, which is something having to do with bees. And so in the first search box, I'm going to put in a bee word. So I'm just going to type in bees. And in the second search box, I am going to try to focus a little bit. I think on terms having to do with the environment. So I'm going to type in environment in one search box. Then I'm going to put an or. And then I'm going to put in the term conservation, and then another or, and then the word habitat. So when I put my ors between terms, that means any one of these three words can come up in my article. Okay, either environment or conservation or habitat, or any combination of those three terms. And B, since it has its own box, definitely has to be somewhere in that article. Now, at this point, there are some other choices I could make if I wanted to. One important one could be date. So you don't want to find really old articles about bees because it might not be valid information anymore. So do pay attention to your dates, and you'll see we have some filters on the screen. And under date range, I could choose to keep myself within the past 10 years for the more current material. If I want to, I can also put a check mark in full text. That means that any article that comes up on my screen, I will be able to have quick access to the entire article. You'll see that there is also a check mark for peer reviewed. If I put a check mark in there, that would restrict me to the most scholarly information. I'm not going to do that right now because I want to show you what the search looks like without doing that first, okay? So check mark in full text, searching the last 10 years, and my search terms are in the search box. And then I'm going to go ahead and link to search. And as you can see, I still have a very large results list of over 7,000, almost 8,000 articles. And these results lists are going to be a mixture of different types of articles as well as ebooks. So you see we have some ebook sources that come up at the top. If you're being asked to specifically find articles from magazines or journals or trade publications, you're able to narrow your search by using your filters on the top of the screen. And the filter that we would be interested in here is source type. So if I link to source type, you'll see that there's a way I could limit myself to just academic journals, if that's if that is what you're being asked to find. News would be news wires and newspapers. Magazines would be your more popular magazines, and then trade publications, which are like magazine again, but a little bit more geared towards specific professional groups. Or else you'll see we also have an ebook choice and a few more choices as well. For this particular search, I'm interested in academic journals, I'm interested in newspapers, I'm interested in magazines, trade publications, maybe not so much ebooks at this time. And then I do have a choice of 3 other types of sources as well. But I'm going to stick with the first 4 for now. And then I'm going to click apply. And I still will have a very large list, but a little bit smaller than it was before. Okay. And so you'll see a list of all the articles that come up, and you'll notice many of them do look very academic. If you find an article that interests you, you want to take a look at the access options, and it'll tell you the different ways that you can access the article. So for example, if I'm interested in this article called Bees in the Six, Determinants of Bumblebee Habitat Quality in Urban Landscapes, I could check my access option, and one of my choices will be full text finder. Okay, and that should bring me to the full text of the article. You'll see other options as well. So for example, this one has options for access options, online full text or PDF. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a PDF option, that's always great because it's like a photographic image of how the article originally appeared in the journal. So I'm going to go ahead and link to the PDF option, and that will bring up the PDF of the article. Okay. Now you'll find other choices in the upper right-hand side of the screen. So for example, if you need help citing your article in MLA format, I could click right over here where my cursor is, where it says Cite, C-I-T-E, and I could click on that. And you'll see it is currently citing my article in a style called Brazilian National Standards. Now, this class uses MLA, so I'd use that drop-down menu, and I would scroll down to MLA 9th edition, and it would generate an MLA citation of my article, which I could then copy to a clipboard and then paste it into a works cited page, which is a list of your sources. So that is how you would find the MLA citation in an EBSCO database. You'll see other options here as well. Share, if you click on share, you're going to see options for emailing your article or sharing it somewhere else like Google Drive or creating a link for it. So you'd always be able to go back to that article in the future. Okay, so lots of help there in the upper right-hand corner. You'll also see a download button if you wanted to download the article to your computer. Okay, so if you wanted to go look for some other articles, you could just use your back button here, and that will bring you back to your list, and then you can look around some more. Okay, so again, that was just a very simple search in our EBSCO host database. I'm going to X out of there and put you back on the guide. So remember, I was in the articles section of the guide, and I was in EBSCO host. And then I could do a similar search in our other database, ProQuest Central, which will also provide MLA citation help and options for emailing it to yourself and downloading your articles as well. It's just a different brand database than EBSCO. Now, you may also be encouraged to look for websites as sources. If so, I also have a website link on the guide, and you'll see I do have a Google search box here, or you, of course, are free to use whatever other search engine you'd like to search for websites. In this case, if you're using a website for a source, um, Professor Mummert would like you to evaluate it carefully to make sure that it's appropriate for a college level course. Currently, we have the CRAP test here as a method of evaluation. Now, one thing about finding your websites is they're very rarely going to cite them for you like the library databases do. So I do want to make sure that you know where to go to find a good example of how to cite a website. And to do that, you'll see I do have a link to MLA citations, and you'll see there a section that says MLA citation examples. And one of your choices here is websites. Okay, and it gives a few different situations. The first one is a very common situation, a page on a website without a specific author listed. And so I'll review that one. So if I link to that one, there's a very simple citation for a website. If you would happen to have an author, a person or people who wrote the article, their name would come first. So if the author was Joe Smith, you put Smith, comma, Joe, period. Okay. Lots of times it's hard to find one author for a website, in which case you start with the name of the article you're using. So this particular website, this page is called Drinking Water. So that would go in quotation marks with a period. Then the name of the website where it was found is listed in italics, and in this case, that's Center for Disease Control and Prevention. The date, any date that you find on that website would come next, and the very last piece is the actual web address or URL for that specific website. So an MLA citation for a specific website is pretty simple. Now, going back to the guide, I did mention at the beginning that there are lots of ways that you can get help. On the welcome section of your guide, you're going to see my email address. If you would like to meet with me on Zoom, you could link to meet with me and then let me know if you want to meet at the Lancaster campus or via Zoom. And then you'll see what times I'm available and you could set up an appointment with me. So again, you can email me, you can meet with me either via Zoom or at the Lancaster campus. And then we have these options down here. The most popular one being by far is our chat option. So we do have 24/7 chat with a librarian. It might not be a hack librarian after hours, but it would be another college librarian who would have access to our resources and be able to help you as well. Okay. So again, if you have any questions, please be in touch with me. Again, here is my email, and I hope this video has been helpful to you.